My name is Madison, and the moment they laughed, something inside me crystallized into pure intent. I was 26, sitting at our kitchen table in New Orleans, watching my mother's face twist with contempt. She'd always been elegant, designer glasses, polished nails, but her cruelty made her look small. My father wouldn't even look at me, just nodded along like a puppet. And my sister Emma? She'd been waiting years for permission to hurt me. Getting it felt like Christmas morning for her. My invention was called Meridian, a water purification system that used bioengineered algae. 3 years of my life. Every dollar I'd saved. Every night I'd spent debugging code in my apartment while they had family dinners without me. But to them, I was the dreamer who'd never amount to anything. The disappointment. The one who needed to accept reality. I didn't argue. I'd learned that lesson 1,000 times before. What they didn't know is that I'd already licensed Meridian to a South African water corporation. The contract was signed 2 weeks earlier. The announcement was scheduled for tomorrow morning. I smiled that night because I could finally see clearly. They'd taught me exactly how to hurt them back. Everything was about to change. The news dropped at 6 a.m. Meridian went viral before breakfast. By noon, my phone had exploded into chaos. Investment firms. Media outlets. 3 separate acquisition offers. But the calls I was waiting for came around 2 p.m. My mother first, her voice suddenly bright, apologetic, calling me sweetheart like we'd always been close. Then my father, clearing his throat awkwardly, saying he always believed in me. Emma texted a thumbs-up emoji with a heart, as if she hadn't spent years perfecting her mockery. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I sat in my office, my actual office now, in a building downtown and watched the stock tickers climb. 5 million in initial valuations. 10 million. The South African deal alone was worth 40 million over 5 years. Enough to never need them again. Enough to erase them completely if I wanted. My assistant knocked. Your mother's here. She says it's urgent. I could see her through the glass walls, fidgeting with her purse, her confidence completely shattered. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. Vulnerable. Human. For the first time, I understood what real power felt like. And it terrified me how much I enjoyed watching her wait. I made her wait 45 minutes. When I finally opened my office door, my mother stood up so fast she nearly knocked over her chair. Her eyes were red-rimmed, mascara slightly smudged. She'd been crying in my waiting room, probably rehearsing apologies in her head. Madison, honey, Sit down, I said flatly. She sat. Her hands trembled as she gripped her purse. I want to explain what happened, she continued, her voice shaky. We were scared for you. We didn't want you to waste your life chasing something impossible. We thought. You thought I was pathetic, I interrupted. You mocked me. In front of Dad and Emma. You made me feel small so you could feel superior. Her face crumpled. That's not fair. We love you. The word love hung in the air like poison. I'd heard it my entire life. Always conditional. Love that evaporated the moment I disappointed them. Love that came with judgment built into its bones. I know why you're here, I said quietly. You want to be part of this. You want to tell people your daughter is the genius behind Meridian. You want the reflection of my success to make you look better. She started to cry harder.
Please don't say that.
It's the truth, I said. And that's exactly why I'm going to make sure you never get it. Her face went white. My mother left my office in silence, and I felt nothing. That should have been my first warning. Over the next week, I systematically cut them out. I changed my phone number. I instructed my assistant to refuse their calls. I hired a lawyer to draft cease and desist letters regarding the use of my name in any family business or public context. When my father tried to show up at my apartment, I had security turn him away. Emma's Instagram post about being so proud of my sister's accomplishments got screenshot and sent to every major news outlet with a statement from my publicist. Madison Clark has no relationship with her family and requests they stop attempting to profit from her success. The internet erupted. Think pieces about toxic families. Hashtags sympathizing with me. My brand became synonymous with overcoming adversity. It was perfect.
Strategic. Clean.
But at night, alone in my apartment, I couldn't sleep. I'd stare at my phone, at the blocked contacts, and feel something worse than anger. Emptiness. I'd won. I'd taken everything from them. Their pride, their hope of redemption, their ability to claim any part of my life. They were radioactive now, untouchable, erased from every narrative about Madison Clark. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. It was a hospital. My father had collapsed at work. A stroke. They needed me to authorize emergency surgery. I hung up and blocked the number. Then I cried until I couldn't breathe. I didn't go to the hospital. I told myself it was principle, that showing up would undo everything I'd built. That weakness disguised as compassion was exactly how they'd controlled me before. I'd spent years learning to survive without their approval, and I wasn't going to fracture now just because my father's heart had literally broken. My assistant found me on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m., hyperventilating. "Should I call someone?" she asked gently. "No," I whispered. "There's no one to call." The irony was suffocating. I'd spent so much energy removing them from my life that I'd actually succeeded. There was no one. No safety net. No voice on the other end of the line saying it would be okay. Just me and the consequences of my own precision. My father survived the stroke, but barely. He lost mobility in his left side. My mother had to quit her job to care for him. Emma posted a single Instagram story, a photo of the hospital waiting room, no caption, and I understood she was telling me they were devastated without needing words. I'd wanted them to suffer. I'd engineered it perfectly. So, why did I feel like I was the one suffocating? That night, I sat in my office and rewatched old family videos on my laptop. My father teaching me to ride a bike. My mother braiding my hair. Emma, 5 years old, holding my hand at the zoo. I destroyed people I used to love. And I couldn't even remember why it felt necessary anymore. The turning point came when I received an envelope at my office. No return address. My name written in shaky handwriting I recognized immediately, my father's. Inside was a single photograph, me at age 8, standing in front of a science fair project, holding a blue ribbon. On the back, in that same trembling script, "You were always going to change the world. We were just too scared to let you." That was it. No plea. No manipulation. Just acknowledgement. I called the hospital. My mother answered on the second ring, her voice guarded, like she was bracing for rejection. I didn't give her time to speak. "I'm coming," I said. When I walked into that room, my father looked like a ghost of himself. His left arm lay useless at his side. His speech was slurred, but his eyes recognized me with such raw vulnerability that I had to sit down. My mother stood in the corner, afraid to move. Emma wasn't there. She was respecting the boundary I'd drawn, which somehow hurt worse than if she'd fought back. "I'm sorry," my father whispered, each word an effort. "For everything." I took his good hand. "I know, but here's what I realized sitting there. Revenge had given me everything except what I actually needed. Success felt hollow. Money felt cold. The satisfaction of their suffering had curdled into something darker, the knowledge that I'd become exactly what they feared I'd be. Not a dreamer, a destroyer. I'd won by losing myself completely. Rebuilding took longer than destroying ever did. I started small, visiting twice a week, sitting in uncomfortable silence while my father relearned how to speak. I didn't apologize dramatically. I just showed up. My mother eventually stopped flinching when I entered the room. We began having conversations that weren't transactions. About her fears. About why she'd pushed so hard. About how her own mother had mocked her dreams until she stopped having them, and she'd been terrified of watching me fail the same way. It didn't erase what I'd done, but it contextualized it. Emma came back into my life through a text. "Can we talk?" We met at a coffee shop, and she cried first, which somehow made it easier. She'd been 16 when I left for college, old enough to understand family dynamics, but too young to navigate them alone. My absence had forced her to choose sides, and she'd chosen survival over principle. We couldn't undo that, but we could acknowledge it. The public narrative never changed. I remained the girl who overcame toxic family dynamics. The media loved that story too much to let it go. But privately, quietly, I started rebuilding what I'd burned down. My father regained partial mobility. My mother started painting again, something she'd abandoned decades ago. Emma got engaged and asked me to be her maid of honor. Success started feeling like something other than a weapon. But the hardest part was forgiving myself for the person I'd become in my hunger for justice. 3 years later, I sat in my father's backyard in New Orleans, watching him teach my nephew how to identify constellations. His speech was still slightly slurred, his left hand still weak, but he was here, present.
Trying.
My mother emerged with lemonade, and she set a glass beside me without asking how I took it anymore. She just remembered. These small acts of restoration happen daily now, unremarkable and sacred. Meridian had expanded to 40 countries. I'd become the person magazines wanted to profile. But the real success was quieter. The moment my father looked at me with pride that wasn't conditional, wasn't earned through punishment, but simply existed because I was his daughter. Emma's daughter called me Aunt Madison with genuine affection, not performance. I'd learned that revenge and justice aren't the same thing. Justice would have been them understanding what they'd done and changing. Revenge was me weaponizing my success to make them suffer, which only proved I'd inherited their cruelty in different packaging. The real victory wasn't in their destruction. It was in choosing not to become the villain of my own story. I'd spent 3 years tearing them down. I'd spent 3 years building them back up. And somewhere in that excavation and reconstruction, I'd finally learned the difference between winning and healing. My father squeezed my shoulder as the first star appeared. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. For the first time, I believed him.